Okay, so hopefully by now everybody has a decision on what project they're going to do with tasks organized in the Gantt timeline. And the next step for this is to create a proposal for your project. And as part of this, I wanted to go through some technical communication principles, which is a little bit different than what you've seen in some of your English classes. So, how to do lab write ups and just share technical information. So, part of this, there's some notes right here. So, go ahead, right click, open this in a new tab. This is something that you might have an entire semester on just technical communication. This is a textbook I had when I went through that class. And the point of it is to convey specific information with as little noise as possible. So clear, succinct, avoid wordiness, and have this as professional as possible. So no misspelled words, avoid common grammar mistakes. There's a couple of examples in here for some common mistakes that people make with this. And so get to the point. This is not a murder mystery. It's not, a novel that people are reading. You want them to get the information they need quickly, accurately, and a very organized fashion. So if you open up one of your textbooks, a math book or a physics book, and you see how that thing is organized with headings and subheadings, numbered sections, you're not going to read that whole book, right? You have some little piece of information you want, and you want to skip to that section and that little piece of information, read it, use it, and be on your way. And you won't be able to out and find that information quickly and efficiently if it is not organized. Okay, so let's come over here and go through individual formatting practice. So there is a Word document. If you scroll to the end of these notes, go ahead and download this document, and we're going to walk through this unformatted text and turn it into something that would be look a little bit more professional, like a typical report that you'd see in a scientific journal. So this is unformatted text, and you're just going to go through this and we'll walk through some of the formatting features that is built into Word here. Okay, so the things I would like you to walk through are first, let's put together a title page. And this is just a general formatting thing. Each journal and book has slightly different guidelines for how they want things to be. But we're going to go ahead and use what Microsoft has as their just default settings. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not setting my font over here. I'm going to use these over here. And the nice thing, you can modify it and then it's here in your library. You don't have to go back and say, oh, what was that font size? What was that font? Like, it's going to be consistent through the whole document. It's going to match everything through the whole document. So it's use these styles over here rather than individually setting different things over here. Title page, usually what you have is your title. I'm going to have you come up with a team name. If you have a logo, that could be a fun thing. Then list everybody in your team, and I want names and the section that person contributed. So individual grades, everybody is going to be graded based on what section they added to that report. So divide and conquer on this to decide who's going to do the problem statement, the background research, the diagrams, testing methodologies. Just walk through, give everybody a chunk of this proposal to do, and then do your part and let everybody else worry about their part of this. Okay, you could also have the class name, the school, so you can set those as subtitles. And often that title page space things out. Give it some room on there. You can center this if you would like. Okay, so that's the first to-do list on this title page, and explore the styles under there. Header and page numbers. So here's the next thing to do. To add a header on this, there's a couple different ways. You can just double click and it will open up this header and footer dialog. And you can just start typing, or there are some pre-made built-in, and I like to do these built-in things. So let's go ahead and try this out. So we can have the project title, and maybe we can do the group name, and let's see, what would be another thing? Date is often nice to do. So there's a bunch of different date formats that you can choose on here. And this is another thing. So you can either have the date show the current date of whoever's reading it, or just the original date that the document was created. So decide if you're going to have that date update or not. Okay, so once you have everything in your header there, you can either close the header here or you can hit escape. And there you go, we've got the header. Now we probably don't want that on the title page, so you can go ahead, double click on it, and there's this little guy right here, different first page. So we're going to click that, and if I hit escape, there is now nothing on the first page. Page numbers are also nice to have. So let's come over here to insert, and we can go ahead and grab the page number over here. Since we already have our project title and a bunch of stuff at the top of the page, I'm going to go ahead and put that page number at the bottom of the page. So you can see this is page number 2. And again, just exit out of there. And now we have our header and page numbers on here. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. Okay, so there is that. Next up, add numbered headings and subheadings. This is an important part of it. I'm not going to start with my abstract. Abstract is a really important part of every report. Most people will not read your entire report. They will read the abstract. So if you're going to really polish something and spend some time, the abstract, this is going to be the most read part. The meat of the report is going to start right here with introduction. And just like before, I'm not setting my font over here. I'm going to come over here to heading style. And I kind of like to use not just a heading, but numbered headings. So we'll have a first level, second level. This will go well with a table of contents, and it'll just make information easy to jump to the right section of your report. Okay, so there's a couple different numbering systems over here. I like to use this one that actually is supposed to be for a heading. So not a numbered list, but this is like chapters of a book. So I'll go ahead and select this for my heading, and hopefully this is updated over here with my heading. If I modify this, you can come over here to format and look at the numbering in here to see if we can do some numbers, but I think you should be able to just highlight this guy and tell it that you would like numbered headings. Once you have the primary heading numbered, there's heading number 2, and you can see we have 1, 1.1, 1.1.1, and from here on out, as we turn other sections into headings, it will automatically get those in. So rather than actually typing a number like 2 dot, 3 dot, we're going to have this automatically update. I'm going to skip to the bottom here. So let's say I have my report together. I have everything numbered, and then I say, oh man, there's this other section I need to add in. So I'll come in and say, yeah, I need to do this testing section. The nice thing about automatically adding these styles is I can go back, insert things in here, and all of the numbers update. So it will stay. This is when I was writing my thesis, these tools were not here. And it was a lot of time wasted going back and renumbering everything, making sure that that those numbers were in order. So it's really nice that it will update everything and you can go back and edit it and it will update all the numbers. Okay, so that is the headings and subheadings. So the next thing, add a figure caption, and then we're going to add a table header, and we'll go ahead and cross-reference to those guys as well. So figure captions. And again, you don't want to just start randomly typing this in. We want Word to automatically add this for us. So the fastest way, and what I like to do, is click on the figure and then insert caption, and that will attach the caption to the JPEG or the picture that's your figure. There's a couple of different captions. So there's equations, figures, and tables. The standard is that figures will be labeled below the figure. Tables are labeled above the table, and I'll show you equations. These are a little bit trickier, but I like to label the equation to the right-hand side, and there's a trick for being able to do that. Okay, so we'll start with graphs and diagrams are figures. So this is going to go below the item. Before we put that in, I'm going to go to numbering and make sure that it's going to be attached to the section that it is in. So we're going to label it according to what chapter or heading it is under. And you can also change the format to a dot or a hyphen or different formats. So it gives you a little preview up here of what that caption is going to look like. So 1.1, we're in section 1, and this is the first figure in section 1. So we'll go ahead and say OK. It adds that figure. You also want to do a short description on here. So this is graph showing trend of blah, blah, blah. So just a quick little sentence saying what you're looking at. Most people are not going to read all the paragraph. They will glance at the figure and a quick description though. So these little figure captions, this is going to be an important part as well. Okay, so there's a figure. Here's a table. Again, I'm going to click on it, right click, insert caption. And this time around, we don't have a figure, we have a table. So tables go above the table, and they will have their own numbering, but again, this is going to be connected to whatever heading it is under. So include the chapter number, dot. So this will be table 3.1 because we are now in section 3, and this is the first table in section 3. So we'll go ahead and say OK. And then we can type a little description. Decision table showing project justification or something. I don't know. Okay, one little thing. Let's say that we add another section here. And unfortunately, some of these are not updating. So this is now in section 4. But it's still saying, table 3.1. So we're going to have to update this. Update all of the numbers so that everything is showing up in the right sections. We're going to say Control A. Control A selects all of the document. And then right click. And we're going to come down here and say Update Field. So as soon as we do this update field, that table 3.1 should update to table 4.1 because it is in section 4. And this is, really important. You just use the use the tools in Microsoft, because you do not want to have to go hand label everything and every time you change something. So, but it's very handy to have that all in there. Okay, so that was figures and tables. So we're up to add a cross-reference to the figure caption. Let's say that in the text, we're going to talk about this graph. So we'll say something like, as you can see in the graph shown in, and I'm not going to type figure 1.1, right? I might edit this in the future, and then it'll be figure 2.1 instead of 1.1, and it's so rather than saying in figure 1.1, I'm going to say insert, and over here there is a cross reference. And let's see, I don't want a heading. I'm going to come down here and scroll to, we're going to talk about a figure. I don't want to put the entire caption in there. I just want 1.1. So let's do the label and number, insert, close. The trend shows, and then we can keep typing our text, right? So the neat part about this is I can control click if this is a document you're emailing to someone and it's actually linked to it. But the other nice thing is if I then submit some other figure in here, right? So now let's say I have another graph that I forgot to add, and I'm going to have this one with its different number, right? So this is, right click, insert caption, figure. Okay, 1.2, 1.1. Uh-oh, we might have to update this. Remember how to update, control all, right click, update fields, and it is now still attached down here to the original figure. So it will update everything in the text so that everything is connected to everything else correctly. So yay, that's very handy. It's very handy. You don't want to have to keep track of all of those numbers yourself. Okay, so there's a cross-reference, and the next piece of it, references. So I'm going to show you kind of a quick and easy way to add references here. There is APA format and a whole bunch of different ways. So what I'm going to do here, come to the reference tab. There are footnotes and endnotes. A footnote will put a note at the bottom of an individual page, whereas an endnote will put something at the end of the entire report. So I want you to play around with the endnote, and this will start a numbered section, and you can usually put, so you're going to have the author name, Turner, the date, some kind of a title, the publisher. Okay, so you can put in the information for the article, and what that will do is up here in the text, it's now kind of linked in there. So this will put everything in the same order that it's in for the text, and you can hover your cursor over it and it will give you the information for that. So try that out for a couple things, and that reference section is really important. So plagiarism versus research. You want to combine, the more references, the better. Don't put it in there unless you're actually using it, but it's not plagiarism if if you're referencing it. Okay, numbered equation. I've got this as 20 points because it is pretty tricky to get a numbered equation in here well. Let me scroll down. I've got a spot in here for, here's some example equations, right? Like stress and strain, or maybe you want to have standard deviation. So this is one way to insert an equation. Let me know if you find a better way. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a table in that has 3 columns and 1 row. And what this will allow me to do is have something centered in the middle of my page, as well as something that is a right justification. So I will have my equation in the center and my equation label on the right-hand side. So inside this first part, this is where I can go to my equation editor that has things like fractions and splits. Okay, so we can have some kind of equation in here. And then what I want is I want to add a caption. Now we can go above the select item or below. If you look in a textbook, a lot of them have the equation on the right-hand side. And the trick for doing this, I'm going to go ahead and do the numbering and attach it to the header. And I'm going to enter this in. The object is an equation. And it's going to go above right now. I don't want it above. I'm going to have to actually Control C and Control V. I'm going to have to copy and paste it in where I want it to be. And the last thing to do is to get rid of these borders. And the final thing that I want here, I'm going to delete off that first. So this is what I want. I want to have the equation in the center and the caption to the right-hand side of that. So a little bit tricky to get that in. And yeah, if anybody else finds a way to get something centered and the label to the right-hand side, let me know. But this is inserting that table. That's one way to do that. Okay, so that is the equation. And the last little piece is you can save this as a template, and from here on out, just edit it. So walk through each section, talks a little bit about kind of what should be in the introduction and project overview, state the goals of your project, background research of who else has worked on it, and basically you're walking through the engineering method here. So assign everybody a different piece of this, sketch a good diagram up. You do not have to know CAD. If somebody in a group is really good with CAD, that would be great, but a hand sketch is perfectly fine as well. Testing, and this is, you have to think through what you're going to need to test, how you're going to test it ahead of time. So you do not need to have it built before thinking through how to test it. Okay, so that should get you started on this project. If you get all the formatting on here is better than the formatting tools in Google Docs. So if you get all of the sections and subsections set up, Control A, Control C, and the next spot is to go ahead and go to Google Docs. And this is where everybody in your team can then edit the same document, but I do like to use the regular old Word to set up the formatting first because, yeah, finding all of the formatting tools here, you can see there's no reference tab. It's just, it's a little bit limited. So Control V and give it a couple seconds, but eventually it will pop open with everything in here that you had, hopefully. So go back and forth. At the end of the semester, copy and paste things back into Word so you can have it look a little bit more professional than the tools in the Google Docs. But this is same as Google Sheets. So you're going to share with your group, edit it, and then turn in a link to this. Okay, so hopefully that gets you started. Individual, everybody needs to understand how to use the formatting tools in Word. And as a group, each person in the group needs to write part of that proposal. So you're going to put together your proposal. By the end of the week, post it in the discussion forum. And by next week, reply to somebody else so that everybody can get feedback for all of the project ideas. There's some really good office tutorials. So this has just 2-3 minute long explanations for everything from, it's page labels and numbers and headers and footers. And so, go through this. Lots of great tools in there. And hopefully, this will be useful for you for all of your labs and future classes whenever you're trying to put together a professional looking technical document.